We are joined by Dr. Kimmo Soramaki, who is the founder and Chief Executive Officer at FNA. Thank you very much for your time, Doctor. We do appreciate it. So you're the CEO of the Financial Network Analytics, and I'm curious to know what the mission is of the network and how this actually translates into real-world resilience in payments.
Excellent. Thanks, and great to be here. FNA the mission is to make the financial system safer and more efficient. And so that's on the two sides of the same coin a little bit. On the safer side, and like I discussed today in the panel here at PIPC, was about fraud and scam response, how to make the payment systems and digital payments safer for the consumers and less costly for the fraud management for the banks and other institutions that are involved in the response. And the efficiency side is usually related to liquidity. When you make payments, you need money to make those payments, so that's liquidity. And if you're a bank, you need large amounts of liquidity. So we're helping banks to optimize their payment operations so that they use less liquidity and can again serve their customers better by making payments more promptly and less costly for them.
How do we make payments safer even for the customer and the consumer? Because fraud and scams are up. There's a major trust deficit. How do we make it safer?
Yeah, so we've been working for the past few years setting up or helping countries set up what we call national anti-scam utilities. So those are utilities where the industry, banks, fintechs, other stakeholders come together and try to solve the problem jointly with technology. For example, in Malaysia, we helped set up the National Fraud Portal there. It's a system used by the National Scam Response Center, so people can call in and say, hey, I've been scammed, and then they reply, okay, let's try to get your money back. And then the utility helps the banks to trace where the money is being moved through a series of mule accounts, or money mules, and then freeze it and then return it back to the victim. And that's sort of discussion we have actually in a lot of countries today to set up similar utilities to help the banks be more efficient and effective in how they help the consumers in case if they're scammed.
Let's speak about if you had to identify one looming systematic risk in payments that isn't getting enough attention today. What would it be?
I think it's the scams, really. Like the human risk so that someone convinces you to make a payment because there's very little the financial system can do about it because you're asking that payment to be made because you were socially engineered by the criminals, maybe using fake video or deep fake videos or other types of AI-driven scams to believe that, hey, this is a payment that you want to make. And then you're very adamant about it, that I want to make this payment. And that's sort of the risk. And maybe you then later, after you think about it a few minutes or a few hours, you think, maybe I was scammed. But then at that point of time, you want to have your money back. And some of these scams are very large, people losing their whole life savings. So it's also a human aspect, a human tragedy that is quite often associated with this. I think that's the biggest problem we have today in the payments area, costing maybe $1 trillion globally to the consumers.
And what role would you say the regulators, banks and fintechs need to do to better prepare for this? I mean, I know you're saying it's a human element, but what can these entities do to be better prepared?
Well, I think our approach, like I said in the beginning, is for everyone to come together and set up these utilities to solve the problem jointly. In some countries, maybe they take the approach of shifting the blame to the banks, but we say, no, let's not do that. Let's try to actually solve the problem instead of finding someone else to pay for it, and set up these processes and the technology using AI, using advanced network analysis, using real-time payments monitoring technology on the country level to actually be able to understand who is getting scammed, get the money back, identify mule accounts, share those mule accounts with the other banks in order that they can then instruct the consumer who is trying to make a payment that, hey, maybe you should be careful about this one here. It's been involved in a number of scams today already. So I think that's sort of the response that is jointly. Usually, it's driven by regulators, by central banks, by consumer protection agencies, because at the end, the losses are borne by the consumers for this one here, which of course, then if a lot of people get very unhappy, may have also some political consequences.
So you've been quoted as saying a safe payment system is only beneficial if people use it. The people need an efficient, user-friendly and inclusive service to be able to use it. Maybe just speak to us about why that's so important, because it's one system to be it's one thing to be financially included, but it's another thing to be able to benefit properly from the system.
Yeah, I think sort of the risk that a lot of people have, all of these efforts for financial inclusion have been very successful. A lot of people have been brought into the realm of digital payments in the last years, but the risk is that they will withdraw from these systems if they think that they are unsafe and stop using them, resort back to cash. So I think in order to protect the benefits that we've gained from financial inclusion, the scams problem is especially something that we need to tackle so that people don't lose faith and lose trust in digital payments and digital commerce. For example, because they made too many purchases on fake websites or were scammed in other types of impersonation or other scams.
And perhaps in closing, if you were to identify or predict one major disruptor, many have been saying it's AI, what would you say is the major disruptor when it comes to payments?
Yeah, I think the idea of more utilities is one. So collectively, because financial networks, like they are everyone. When we understand the whole system, we can optimize it better for the making the financial system safe, more efficient. But at the same time, we can also make it safer when we look at the whole system at once, and then deploying different types of AI, machine learning, other types of real-time technologies on top of that. I think that's sort of where I see the back end of payments in the future.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. So I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.